Since 2002, the World Happiness Report has detailed the world's happiest countries based on several factors. The report looks at countries with respect to their performance of 6 particular variables. That is, their gross domestic product per capita, so that's essentially how much money each person has, social support, life expectancy, freedom to make your own life choices, the generosity of the general population, and perceptions of internal and external corruption levels. By relating all of the countries around the world individually to a made-up country called dystopia, the researchers were able to configure a baseline to compare all other countries. The lowest scoring country in the World Happiness Report for 2020 was Afghanistan, with a ranking of 2.567. Afghanistan unfortunately has a low life expectancy rate, paired with a low gross domestic product and not much personal freedom. So let's go ahead and take a look at the 10 happiest countries on Earth according to the World Happiness Report of 2020. Now, some of these might have changed since then, however it's unlikely that any of these will have dropped significantly out of the top 10. So starting off with number 10, Luxembourg, which of course is in Europe. Luxembourg made quite the upward leap from 14th place to 10th place, which knocked Canada and Australia down a few pegs, meaning that they just missed out on the top 10. With a population under 600,000, the small country offers high salaries and a strong social security system, which really helps its citizens after retirement. But before you jump to the conclusion that money is actually buying happiness in this country, it has many other perks that have nothing to do with cash, including a great healthcare system and an excellent work-life balance. This may be due to the fact that there is a mandatory 5 weeks of vacation time, making it one of the highest in the world. Number 9, Austria in Europe. Austria's high life expectancy of 81 years and high GDP per capita helped it to make this top 10 list. It also ranks as the 9th best country in the world when it comes to equality. Austria boasts some of the most beautiful landscapes in all of Europe, if not the world. How could anyone not be happy living in a beautiful setting like this? Number 8, New Zealand in Oceania. A beautiful country with a low population density, stunning landscapes, clean air, and friendly people who respect each other. We can see why New Zealand is on this list. When I visited a couple of years ago, I loved the laid-back vibe this country has. Their Prime Minister is also highly rated and respected across the country. Number 7, Sweden in Europe. Sweden is one of the happiest countries in the world. Perhaps that's due to how happy the people are who are living there. People genuinely enjoy living in Sweden. Some factors to this are because of things like their economy, their climate, their waste management, their sustainability, land uses, high life expectancy, and the general quality of life and the smiles of the people. Number 6, Netherlands in Europe. The Netherlands is kind of categorized alongside Nordic countries, and the researchers say that it does better than Europe as a whole because of levels of social and institutional trust, as well as social connection. However, as in some other developed economies, people feel less happy in Dutch cities than they do in the quiet, chilled rural areas. Number 5, Norway in Europe. Norway is the 5th happiest country in the world with a score of 7.48. Norway has a higher bar representing the levels of generosity in the country than that of Finland and Denmark. Norway is known as a welfare state, where citizens feel like they are being taken care of by their government thanks to universal healthcare and free college tuition. Norwegians also enjoy a very healthy work-life balance, working on average 38 hours per week versus 41.5 in the United States, for example. Additionally, Norway has a low crime rate and a good sense of community within its communities and citizens. Number 4, Iceland, another one in Europe. Iceland ranks as the 4th happiest country in the world with a total rank of 7.49 out of 10. Of the top 5 happiest countries around the world, Iceland has the lowest amount of perceived corruption. The country's overall social incorporation of support systems is somewhat greater than the other 5 countries. However, it's not quite significant enough to make much of a difference or kick other countries out of this list. It is a small country with a very small population, where the majority live in just one city. Number 3, Switzerland, another one in Europe. As the 3rd happiest country in the world, Switzerland scored a total of 7.55 out of 10. This is a significant increase from last year's rankings. enough to surpass the Netherlands and Iceland and knock Norway out of the number 3 spot. In general, the Swiss are very healthy with one of the lowest obesity rates in the world. The Swiss also have a very high median salary, about 75% higher than that of the United States. Additionally, there is a strong sense of community in Switzerland and a firm belief that it is a safe and clean country, which is very true. Along with Iceland and Denmark, Switzerland is one of the safest countries in the world with some of the best air, landscapes and people. Number 2, Denmark, another one in Europe. The second happiest country in the world is Denmark, which scores 7.64 out of 10. The values for each of the 6 variables related to Denmark are relatively similar to those of Finland. The primary difference between the two countries relates to the generosity and corruption levels. Denmark has a slightly higher calculation of generosity, and the same goes for perceived corruption within the country. If you look closely enough, you will see a relatively higher level of corruption perceived by those in Denmark than those in Finland, which is a significant enough drop to put Denmark into second place. And finally, number 1, of course, Finland, another country in Europe and a Nordic nation. Finland ranks as the world's happiest country based on the 2020 report. Finland scored 7.809 out of 10. The GDP per capita of Finland is just under 2.5, and the overall feeling that there is a communal support among citizens of Finland is around 2.5 as well. People feel reassured by their fellow citizens speaks volumes, especially because it can be challenging to be happy if you do not feel like you're supported by those around you or those who are in the system. The freedom to make choices in Finland appears to be alive and very well. If you glance at the scores within the variable among the happier countries, it is evident that this sense of freedom is rather high where happiness is involved. So there we have it, the 10 happiest nations on Earth. Now let's go through a few honourable mentions. The UK and the US sit 13th and 18th respectively. With a score of 5.23, the Ivory Coast is the happiest nation in Africa and the 85th happiest in the world. Although the UAE is in the Middle East, it is part of the Asian continent and is the 21st happiest country in the world and therefore the happiest in Asia. However, if you're excluding the UAE because it's in the Middle East, then it will be Taiwan, who sits in 25th place, which would make them the happiest country in Asia. South Korea and Japan, 2 countries often regarded for their high quality of life, sit 61st and 62nd respectively. This is more likely due to the work till you die culture that has been adopted in these 2 countries. Rates of suicide and depression have skyrocketed in young male adults as they work unsustainable hours for prolonged periods. And finally, although Thailand is known as the land of smiles, according to this list, there isn't too much smiling to be done. With a score of 6, they sit 54th in the world. So we hope you enjoyed this video. If you like this content, please do drop a like. And if you love this content, consider dropping a sub. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.